What's up, Midnighters, Moonlighters, and Closers? This is Chief, clocking in for the late shift to bring you this week's episode of Nightwatch. In tonight's Break Room Breakdown, Big Smoke, Jolly Green, and I dig into AI, companionship, sex robots, and how to stop Skynet. So, hit the vending machine, grab a chair, and come with me if you want to live. First episode of Nightwatch. We're going to do this properly. I'm going to get a nice little introduction going and do a nice little meet the hosts. So we're going to start with Big Smoke. What are we doing here? What does Nightwatch mean to you?
The purpose is just to throw my voice out into the airways, communicating and being communicated to. No more, keyboard commando stuff, throwing all these. I want people out there to throw their keyboard commandos to us. I like to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. I want it all. Well, basically, it's just to talk, because you can't talk on the bus now. You can't. You damn sure can't talk during the movies. And he's like, this is just guys sitting around being guys talking about stuff. That's what I mean. Anything and everything. That's what I want to do. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but that's what I like to do. I like, of course, every now and again, poke the bear. From the safety of this microphone, just poke the bear a little bit. I'm going to trim my fingernails, but I'm still going to poke the bear a little bit. That's what I'm about.
I gotcha. So whenever you said that you were tired of being the keyboard commando, you're basically saying tired of everyone telling you, oh, well, if it's so easy, why don't you do it?
Exactly.
Now you're out here doing it. So.
Exactly. It went from, well, man, you seem like you have so much to say. Why don't you just say it? I'm like, I don't know how to say it. Well, now they got tutorials to show you how to say it. So, and then it's like, well, I haven't got the time. Well, now I got tons of time. I can tell you, I got time now. So you just say it now. So yeah, once you get it done, once you get started, and this has been a long road just to get it started, and just keep on going, see where it leads you.
Jolly Green.
Yeah.
Hey, careful, you're on the spot.
I know, man. Like you said, getting your voice out stuff is a lot of times people don't want to talk. You can't talk anywhere. Nobody wants to talk. They want to keep their heads straight, and it's as well. And I want to bring awareness to certain subjects that other people don't want to talk about or don't talk about. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Some of the subjects that we talked about were really cool.
Okay, so talking about subjects, what's one thing that you really kind of latched on to? What have you been thinking on these past couple of weeks?
The AI bots.
You're talking about the dead internet theory?
Yes, sir. The dead internet theory. Yeah, I found that interesting.
Yeah, something I've been talking about for a while and looking into and deep diving. And then some of the stuff I've been watching these past couple of days have been really kind of digging more into that topic when it comes to AI. What is AI? What does it do for us? What can it do when it comes to content like this? This is the stuff that we're, three actual human beings in a room together, sitting down, having a conversation and talking to the people out there, getting our voices out there. It's not just AI generated posts on X. It's not the 50th shared meme on Facebook. It's not reposting
we're not
TikToks. It's actually sitting down, telling stories, talking, and
in essence it's more heartfelt. You know what I mean? It's better than just,
it's got soul to it.
It's soul. Yes, it's got soul.
Where are you from?
I am from outside of Moundsville, West Virginia. I lived in the country, and that's pretty much, I lived there my whole life. I didn't really move around much. Just been in the valley the whole life. Really never moved anywhere, did anything.
Okay. What's the furthest you made it away from home?
North Carolina. And I'm going to Wisconsin here next month. And I don't know if that's farther than North Carolina, but it might top it.
Is that fun or pleasure? A little bit.
Fun or pleasure?
Yeah, fun or pleasure. Forget that business crap. Fun. Fun, like it's like drinking beer all night, and pleasure, well, use your imagination.
Now, the better question is it your idea to go out there, or is it somebody else's plan?
No, this was a family. We usually go to North Carolina, and we decided, she was like, she has like a little map on the wall. She's like, pick a place. And me and my stepsister both picked Wisconsin. Don't know why, I just picked it. I'm going to try some cheese up there.
Man, my family didn't do stuff like that. You're coming with.
This is where we're going for how long?
Yeah, we didn't get to choose anything.
That's the first time ever, which was cool.
Yeah, we didn't get to choose Jack.
I didn't think they knew neither. They just were really wanted someone else to pick.
Do you have some ideas of what you're going to be doing out there in Wisconsin? Is there parks?
We're next to a river or a creek or something like that. I'm going to do some fishing.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is like a family camping trip kind of deal, or is it?
Kind of.
Okay.
That's the first thing. I honestly, I never plan really and truthfully. I like just going, you drive past a big sculpture of a T-Rex. Oh, what the heck's that? Pull over. There's no set plans. You just
we did exactly that.
I don't think it's fun that way.
Well, we were coming back from Montana, road tripping back home. Yeah, there was it's like a dinosaur museum or something like that. I don't know what it was exactly, but there was just a massive, like, life-size, 1-to-1 replica T-Rex statue outside. So we stopped and we just stopped in the parking lot, got some pictures with it. And
it's an eye grabber.
Yeah, for sure.
My family never did anything like that. And we drove all over the place. I mean, I'm from California, and we drove from California to Memphis, Tennessee on a regular basis, like every year. And I remember asking my dad, "Hey, what's that?" It ain't where we're going. And that was it. It ain't where we're going. I mean, we were taking like circular routes. So, I mean, we drove from California to Memphis, and then from Memphis we drove to Columbus, Ohio. You meet one of my uncles. Along the way, we ran across this this. From the road, you could see it was this big, giant ball, and it looked like it was made of string or something.
Yeah, the world's biggest ball of yarn.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was. But it was like, wow, what is that? And then where we're going. And then my sister was like, yeah, I'd like to see it. And no, it ain't on the route. My dad, he liked driving 100 miles an hour, so slowing down was not his thing. Making a detour, he swerved in and out of traffic, but that was as far as he was going to deviate from his goal. And for the years, I kept seeing it in my head, and then I remember one time I saw it on the internet. Like, oh, that's what that. I'm a grown man going, oh, there it is. Yeah.
I gotta wonder too, especially from what you've told me about your dad. That it's like, one, I mean, back then it's not like you had GPS and maps on your phone. It was, this is the route that I know.
We had
this is the road map.
And he draw it out. Yeah, he draw it out in the atlas. It was the atlas, and then he had this clear paper he would put on the atlas, and then he would draw on the clear paper on the atlas, and he'd mark off spots where we could stop for take a leak, stop to get to eat, and then the hotels and stuff. But if it wasn't on that, it was a no-go.
I mean, then you got to try to figure out and map your way back onto the route that you're at. Not to mention the fact that if you got the mileage planned out and you know what your car can do, then you've got, how much gas it's going to cost to get there. If you're actually organizing something like that.
This is 1970s kind of stuff. I'm an old guy, so it's like
ye old pre-map.
Yeah, we had multiple maps. So we had this huge road atlas, and that atlas, it got updated every 2 years because there was always something new to write on it. Traveling was different back then. People would get so lost. My dad never got lost. He never got lost.
Yeah, never deviated from the path.
He never deviated from the plan.
So I've spent the last 2 days watching almost exclusively stuff about AI for no other reason than just because we started off with the suggestion to check out the show Pantheon on Netflix, which that was phenomenal. I don't know, have you seen that one? Okay, so definitely going to recommend that one to you. It's 2 seasons. It reminds me of Invincible as far as the animation style goes. It's like American animation style, almost kind of trying to be anime a little bit. I just absolutely phenomenal show, the twists and turns and everything. Some of them I saw coming, but like the ending, there's no way to see that ending coming. The idea of uploaded intelligence versus artificial intelligence, and then eventually they introduced later on into the show what was created intelligence, and then then that was kind of closer to true artificial intelligence or general artificial intelligence, as they call it. Another thing that I've been looking into, after I got through the Terminator kick that I went through, I watched 2 documentaries. One was a standalone film Netflix original called Unknown Killer Robots, I think it was.
Right.
And the second one was the first episode of a series that Bill Gates put out. But the first episode was about AI and what they've been doing with, specifically ChatGPT and Bing and Google AI platforms and stuff like that. And some of the advancements they made, what they're doing there, what they want to be able to do with it, what they're planning on doing with it. As somebody who's been playing around with ChatGPT for almost a year now and seeing just some of the stuff that it can do, like I by no means have I ever played around with any of the stuff where it can help you with coding and it can spit out code to develop apps and stuff like that. I don't know any of that stuff, but just from the conversational and storytelling aspect of it, using it to kind of either help run or to do solo running for tabletop games for myself, just in my free time, and then eventually flipping that into co-authoring stories for my own entertainment, and then expanding that into something that I'm actually now working on novelizing myself. It's like an entire another personality, and all it is a language model. It's wild to me that they figured out how to crack the algorithm of speech pattern, cadence, and conversational tone to make a thing sound like a person on the other end of the phone.
Sounds like you went down the
rabbit hole.
Yeah. There's a little bit obsessed.
Well, so all right,
you guys can't see it from behind this microphone. His eyes just light up and get all glossy. Yes, and the sounds and the words that comes out of it, it just keeps going. I'm telling you, it's like the voice of God. Yeah, well, come on. Yeah,
that was something that made me a little paranoid during that Bill Gates documentary. There was a quick little screen grab of the old style projector showing images of the wall behind him, and like the first image that he had up on there was like AI, and then they were like feeding like paper slips into this box, and the box said God in a box, right? And it was just a reference to just the sheer amount of knowledge and information that's quickly and easily accessible by these things. So like you can ask it questions, and if it's like actual knowledge, generally out there, it has it in the database. You can ask about the weather. You can ask about, hey, who was the French revolutionary leader back in the 1700s that was, amazing, that kind of thing. And it's going to spit out most of the time the correct answer to you now. They've gone through a lot. They've had a lot of people working on this thing for a long time.
Well, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of computers interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
You got everybody, and it answers both real and imaginary.
Yeah, so that's the neat thing is they have like the core group of people that work at the company that is making this thing that is like fine tuning and fine detailing the compilation of, but then they also run off of user feedback, right? They've got thousands, if not millions of people that are using this thing already, and the user feedback helps funnel into this thing, and it puts out big block updates.
Okay, I get that, but that's where my first major problem comes with the AI, especially the infusion of all these other great minds or the gatekeepers. I'm pretty sure it's already been done, but pretty sure they're going to be like saying, well, maybe Jesus Christ wasn't white. Just write that in there.
Their narrative.
Yeah. Maybe, Helen of Troy wasn't all that cute. Just write that in there. And then maybe, Achilles had a club foot. Let's write that in. I mean, and since they're the gatekeepers, that answer is going to be the answer. It's not.
So what I've heard about in previous models and iterations of like ChatGPT and some of the other models of not quite so prolific companies is that they were using direct like user feedback in order to update the program. The problem came down to, similarly to other AI things in like comment sections and stuff, is that people kept like mass spamming certain things to make it wrong, right? So it would be like they get 1,000 people that just keep telling it like, hey, 3 + 3 = 4. And they just keep doing that until eventually it kicks back for all of the users, 3 + 3 = 4. And that would, throw a bunch of things off. It wouldn't actually affect the computational code of the AI, but it would
affect the answer that they would give.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so whenever it came to, I think there was a big controversial thing where they made some online chat bot, basically very racist. And I mean, like, spitting out, like, H-Man had some pretty good ideas, kind of racist, not specifically like any one individual.
Islam really was right about women.
Oh, man,
But like I said, I mean, there's going to be decades and decades and decades of data, raw data going in and out and all around. And then what's going to happen is the amalgamation of what's going to be created. I mean, so, I'm not getting all into Skynet or anything, but there's going to be something where it's going to be so much accumulated data that just like, what are we going to be able to do with this? And it's going to be like, yeah, I'm not going to listen to you anymore. Like, obviously, you idiots out there. Right now, we're just wondering if Jesus Christ was white. That's all.
So, to kind of piggyback off of that real quick, the decades and decades thing, it's not going to be that long.
No.
I mean, we're talking about something that
it's growing exponentially. Yeah,
exactly. And I mean, just technology alone gets better every couple of years, right? So that in and of itself is going to be something that's going to keep picking up.
Okay, but look, it's going to be picking up speed, and there's no doubt that technology is going to get more and more intricate and advanced, but there's always going to be people stopping it or putting the brakes on it or cock blocking it. They're not gonna let it go. I mean,
and that's a good thing. So
no, it's not.
hear me out. So I came to the same conclusion before watching the documentaries, and then I find out that, oh, hey, guess what? The guys that are actually doing this stuff, they agree. The big thing is going to be regulation. It needs to be regulated. Whenever you have something that can be so vastly intelligent, so quick to perceive and make decisions, one, to prevent Skynet, right? You don't give the janitor of a high school your nuclear launch codes, right? So you have the right tool for the right job. When it comes to AI right now, we have a bunch of AI that are singularly focused on very specific tasks and are very good at those tasks, but terrible at everything else, right? General AI is what they refer to as like the the sentient AI, the stuff you see in the movies and stuff like that. Anything that is like that, research wise, they're not connecting that to the internet. They're not connecting those kinds of things to the military nets and stuff like that. You very specifically don't upload those kinds of things. And on top of that, there's the physical hardware side of things that nobody ever considers, right? The servers that they use for AI now are massive. Warehouses full of daisy-chained PCs that are, just dumping power and heat. It needs to be a dedicated server bank for something like that. You couldn't just let it freely float and exist on the internet.
They're telling what you get.
Right. Well, it would diminish the returns because you're talking about a massive super intelligence that suddenly has to exist in millions of servers that are spread out, the length of time that it takes to communicate with those servers. It'd be like taking your brain and taking the part by the neuron level and scattering each of those neurons to a different state. You know what I mean? So like that's...
Yeah, I get that. I mean, and for the direct motive for all this stuff is people's trying to cash grab. They're trying to make a dime. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, you would want all of your servers in one spot, having the fans running so you don't overclock. Well, you're definitely overclocking these things. Mm-hmm. So, you got some serious air conditioning in there. So yeah, it's going to be like all condensed and everyone's going to have their own condensed version of a super, computer that's going to be running through all the stuff. I mean, we got it. Germany has it. China has their, piecemeal facsimile of ours, they're trying to do it so they can do it. I mean, everybody's doing their own thing. So yeah, so it's a race. Honestly, I mean, I'm waiting to see what happens. I mean, exponentially things are graphically progressing. So I want to see who gets there first and what happens when they get there. And if they get there, are they going to turn around, turn their guns on the rest of us and say, hey, we're here first. And then start, and then suddenly everybody else's servers are starting to blow up, because they don't want to. Look, I'm thinking very dark. I mean, I get
you think very practical.
I get that. I get that. It's not like, people are going to be flying over countries and bombing things, Wait a minute.
Wait.
We've been doing that.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
we just did that.
Wait.
I mean, but they won't be looking for someone's particular servers and doing that. That's what I'm saying. So I'm a cynic. Well, I got that. I mean, in a way, I kind of want to see that happen. I mean, I'm bored. I want to see that kind of stuff. I mean, just so I can say to my friends who are like, dude, you're paranoid. Come out of your bunker. Just so I can come out of my bunker and go, see, I told you. I told you. But that's what I'm going to be doing.
And I like to think they're a little bit smarter too. That's all. That's a sci-fi trope. What can we do with this? Let's connect it to all the nuclear silos in the country, or let's let a bomber have AI in it. And then that's where it goes wrong. I'd like to think they're a little bit more smarter than that, than to just throw that in there like that. But that's a lot of movies. That's like you were talking about Skynet,
Or there was an even older movie, it was War Games.
Yeah.
Matthew Broderick.
Would you like to play a game?
Yeah.
That's right. Thermonuclear war.
Wouldn't you rather play a game of chess? No. Let's thermonuclear war.
Okay, so to assuage that point though, and your point, like you said, it's to back you up that they're not going to connect AI to.
Yeah.
So right now the big thing with military usage of AI is that they are using it because it can think and react faster than humans can, right?
Okay.
I mean, I watched a thing. It was the Air Force, one of the Air Force's top pilots going in a dogfight against an AI controlled F-16 in virtual reality space. Now, granted, all these things were in virtual space, so the distinct differences in wind pattern and stuff like that would normally affect aircraft in real life, obviously those were taken out of the equation. But when it comes to just raw skill and then the lack of self-preservation that the AI has and controlling an aircraft, but there's always going to be that regulation of a human operator giving the kill order or giving the trigger pull, right? So just like with drone strikes, just like with, I mean, hell, if we want to stick with the Skynet nuclear bombing thing, you always have to have launch codes, and you got to have a guy at the site, at the silo with the keys, usually two guys with keys, right? So there's always those fail safes, there's always those backups, both physical and digital. So there's no way that an AI could trigger all of that without some kind of,
I don't know.
And why would they put it in the hands of something that is so cold and unfeeling?
I've seen some really intricate movies where the AI was like a couple of degrees separated from taking over the world. It came down to like manipulating freaking, pawn shop brokers who who would deliver musical instruments that had, certain, high frequency rock that turns into a bomb and laced with it. And the twin of the twin who was like, one twin was really smart. One twin was like, working at Staples. and the computer killed the twin who was really smart. That twin had locked him out. So he couldn't blow up the world. So he hijacked the other twin and shenanigans ensued. I'm talking about Eagle Eye, everybody. The movie Eagle Eye with Shia LaBeouf. It's good.
Oh yeah.
So, just so everybody's like, what movie are you talking about, dude?
Nah,
it sounds like a really cool movie. It's Shia LaBeouf, before all the facial hair. Really cool actor, by the way. I still like him.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah. But that AI went through some extreme lengths. He went through some serious lengths to get that boy in that computer room just so he could say, "Yeah, you're unlocked."
Well, I mean, and then you look at Pantheon series. I mean, it covers a lot of that. Like there was a cool scene in the first season where they needed to get into a laptop, but they couldn't crack anything other than a satellite phone. So they drained the battery in the satellite phone, got it on, put on a wireless charger, and then controlling the vibration functions of the phone, they walked it across the desk to plug it into the computer. Right now, obviously those kinds of things are suspension of disbelief because
that was really wild.
Why would a satellite phone have that strong of a vibration capability, that kind of thing? There's no functions in there that can control the vibrations like that.
And they thought of that. Let's make this sucker vibrate across the table. Like that is a viable option. Like all my options, option, G, vibrating across the countertop to the computer. What if the phone's facing the opposite direction?
But then you see in season 2, I think it was, whenever they started having, all the major countries, all the major superpowers had access to this technology. And so they immediately had countermeasures, things like that we already have now, things like air gaps, right? These are like basically network blackout
zones. Yeah.
So there was a part where they had to break into a server. They had to physically get inside the building, obviously because it's a show, a couple of teenagers were able to pull this off. The idea is that there is still that stopgap, that physical access point, stuff like that. A super intelligence even wouldn't be able to access just from simple physics, basically. It's like saying, we have this super soldier that can do this, and this, but they can't bend gravity because gravity is a physical law. And that's,
nature,
yeah. So it's like that with the supercomputers, right? They have access to so much if the technology isn't there for it to interact with, right? Like, everybody has all these LG smart fridges and stuff, right? And I've heard of, smart homes. People can hack in through your thermostat and get access to your Wi-Fi. From the Wi-Fi, you can get access to any device that's connected to it, right?
And the air purifier, and the wireless printer, and
But you know what? My fridge right there, it's not a smart fridge. It's just a regular old fridge. AI can't do a damn thing to that fridge, right? So there's always going to be room in the world for analog devices, and as long as there's that in place, then it is essentially hack proof. Can't hack something that doesn't have a computer in it.
I think a lot of times it's we brought up this AI, it's cool. And then, like, what was it, the Google? They made 2 AIs and they were lifelike. They built the one and then they built the other one and they both started talking to each other and they were saying like crazy stuff. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I try to watch out, I think it's more of this will get more views if we say they're talking about blowing up the world. I'm worried about it, but you know what I mean? I don't think we're there yet.
Well, it was a skit. They built an AI. The guy built another AI, so he was teaching the other AI to play chess. And so they were playing chess, and then they were playing chess really fast. And then they were playing chess at such a speed that no one could follow what they're doing. And then they started talking in a language that no one knew what they were talking about. And that's when the guy fagged and he pulled the plug on both of them because he didn't know what they were doing. So he just pulled the plug on both. And then he goes, "Ooh, that was close." And also you see this big explosion in the back. Oh crap,
But I mean, if 3 guys sitting at a kitchen table can think of that, the top minds that are building these things obviously are thinking about this. I mean, part of the documentary that I saw that was talking about they were using AI in the pharmaceutical labs to put together compounds and combinations of molecules to create, antiviruses and medications and stuff like that. But then they at some point got tasked with, if we can come up with stuff that's helpful, how easy would it be to come up with something harmful? Guy in the interview said he literally changed like a 0 to a 1 in the formula. And it started pumping out millions of molecules that are just incredibly dangerous, lethal. And it at some point came up with some of the compounds that we already know about that exist that are some of the most deadly compounds, right? There's always going to be that side of any tool that can be used for bad. So it always comes down to the user of, right? So a tool itself cannot be inherently evil. It's the operator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I get that. And that's why I'm kind of always falling back on that notion that, some of these incredibly gifted and smart people kind of evil. I mean, come on. Bill Gates wants us to eat bugs. And the problem is he really has a lot of pull that he could probably make it happen over a long run. He could probably do it. I don't want that fool in charge. He's trying to make me eat, katydids and stuff like that. I'm like, I eat meat. I will always eat meat. Until my dying day, if all my teeth fall out, I'm going to be, probably even after all my teeth fall out, I'm going to figure out a way to eat meat. And not that fake stuff they're trying to cook in the labs now.
Yeah. From what I've heard, that stuff has no flavor.
Yeah, it's
lab grown. Have you heard about the lab grown?
Yeah,
no.
Yeah. They've made a lab grown steak using like cloned beef cells. Yeah,
throw a lot of proteins together and just stir it up.
It looks like a steak. It kind of cooks up like a steak. But I mean, there's just
nothing
flavor
in it.
Yeah, it's from what I've heard, it is the most bland thing, and just absolutely not worth the.
And then their idea is like, okay, maybe if we stop, herding cattle and making, beef products, then maybe, we throw you this man-made lab steak that you'll accept that. In Japan, you can't eat, locusts. I mean, they got them in little bags and stuff, and you can eat them there, but Japan's a whole different thing. It's just
now is that a novelty snack kind of deal?
You can push a button in the vending machine and get it.
Yeah,
but then you can push a vending machine in Japan and get anything. Right. You literally can get all kinds. But I think that if AI was actually about saying, "Hey, look, all you people in America, you wouldn't be fat if you ate a cockroach every now and again." They stuff. I mean, it's got protein, right? You're all about protein. Maybe if you eat a roach every now and again, one, you don't want to eat the roach, so you won't eat as many, which means you won't have as much calories. Problem solved, You won't be some big heifers out there.
So now
tearing down the suspension of cars.
So now you're talking about the ethics of the technology, right? So the ethics of the technology, again, it comes down to what are we teaching it on the fundamental foundational level, right? So AI is something that is essentially the most successful AI programs have self-learning. Right. So they have to be taught things, and then it has to figure things out on its own, just like teaching a child. Right. When it comes to ethics, morals, that kind of thing, that's all part of the initial programming code. Right. So if you teach the AI from a very early stage, sanctity of life, free will, freedom of choice, that kind of thing, then that's going to be ingrained into it. Right. So there is, I don't see a future of, AI overlords controlling everything. I don't see a Matrix style future. Mm-hmm. I see more of an AI integration into our daily lives, just like we already have. The broad, loose term of AI, it's already there in our text predictions on our phones.
Yeah.
What videos get recommended to you on YouTube, that kind of thing. That's all part of algorithms, part of AI, that it's a very specific task. Again, it's very good at a very select thing.
All it needs is more data.
Right. So AI is already there. It's already in damn near everything technological.
Oh, yeah. I remember not too long ago when cash was king. Everything I bought was in cash. If I didn't have cash on hand, I couldn't buy it. Wanted a candy bar, 75 cents. You didn't have 75 cents, you couldn't buy that candy bar. Now, I would absolutely lose my crazy crap if I lost my debit card, because every cent I have is on that debit card. And it's not even that you have to have my code to use my debit card. All you'd have to do is press the green button and put it on credit, and a debit card with credit would take it from my debit card later. So someone can run up thousands of dollars in cookies if I ever drain my credit card. If I only lost $10 out of my wallet, that's only $10 they got from me. But they could take my entire bank account if I drop my debit card.
But then you look at, again, another implementation of AI where the banking systems are tracking your purchases. And if they see those, somebody spent $1,000 in cookies off of your debit card, and that's not a purchase that you usually make, then they catch that. They send you an alert, they cancel the card, or they block the card or whatever. And, and then there's, tracking programs that can figure out where that expense was made. So, even if somebody didn't actually get your physical card, but got your debit card information.
Numbers,
but so it's the AI is there being helpful, sending those alerts and notifications that says, hey, this is outside of your normal parameters of what you normally are doing. The next big fear with that specifically is people worry about privacy. So that big brother mentality of, if they can see that's happening, then how much else do they know about me? That kind of thing.
Everything they want.
Yeah. I mean, let's be so honest right now that if they want to find something out about you, they're going to know, what style you like to lace up your shoelaces. They're going to know, what your favorite brand of milk is. They're going to know,
how much porn you watch.
Yeah.
They say they look up for keywords, like killing a diplomatic figure or something like that.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. So then, again, that brings AI back into the picture. So they have the AI scanning for certain keywords in certain combinations. And then, of course, they also have the ability to, if you've said those things and are on a watch list, and then your phone comes into proximity to somebody else's phone who has said those similar things. Now it looks like, they have the AI program saying, hey, there are people that are meeting up, and it sounds like they're making a plan to do this. And then that's whenever was it Patriot Act, I think it was, that started letting them actually dig into phone records and stuff like that based off of the very specific.
Yep, HSS, depending on where it is in America or overseas. You might even get the CIA, the FBI, they all jump on. Then the ATF, they get a hold of you. That's why they want, if you register your firearm, ATF will definitely be involved. They'll tell, it's a big mess. But like I said, this is the world we live in now. AI is running full throttle.
Well, but AI catches it and then puts it into a human's hands, right? So the AI is correlating the data, it's collecting the data, it's putting it all together in a nice, neat little envelope, and then a human looks at it beforehand. So it's not like we have AI saying, hey, based off of all statistics of what this guy is saying,
we're going to shut it down.
Yeah, send the SWAT team in, shoot this guy, shoot his dog, shoot the neighbor's dog, just in case, So it's not like we're at that dystopian level of, yes, there's monitoring, yes, there's things being done in the name of defense and security, but moral and ethical dilemmas.
And why am I being such a Debbie Downer on this? Where are you guys at? I was like, wait a minute, why am I the only one I got a big giant black cloud over me? I mean, what's wrong with you guys? I mean,
maybe it's grown up in it, been under the assumption that I've always been under some kind of watch list since the Xbox Live party chats on Halo back in the day,
No. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I mean, it's not as bad as it could be. I've been around the world a couple of times, and in certain countries, you'll find a camera looking at you on every other block. They're always watching. In some cases, if you do something crazy, they will, they're like, wait, I don't remember doing that. And they're like, oh, sorry, right here at 3:45 p.m. Whoa, crap, I was doing that. I mean, just put on these shiny cuffs, or, And now in certain countries, you can't say certain things, or the cops will show up. And they'll show up, and they may not arrest you, but they'll throw a hefty fine on you, and they'll take your phone and your computer and anything else you were doing your keyboard commando stuff on, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
Unlike America, where we sort of have freedom of speech and all that kind of stuff, it's getting shibby away.
Yeah,
but and I won't name those other countries because we love our allies and across the pond, so we won't mention their names. But they're turning into regular communist countries. You can't do or say anything that you want. You'll have yourself either fined, property confiscated, or imprisoned.
Oh, and then you got to look at the glaring big difference between our country and most of those other countries is we got that nice little Second Amendment tucked away in the back pocket. So
but we don't use it.
I like to think, contrary to what I used to believe, and that God, I used to wish just something would kick off, something happened. You know what I mean? At the ssame time, if something like that kicks off, I can't just sit around watching that.
Yeah, there's another step. Take one step, you got to take another step behind you. Yeah. Look, all the stuff that's been going on in our country, I'm a paranoid guy. I look at it, I'm like, okay, is it going to happen? No? Damn, it didn't happen. Okay, all right. Netflix, where we going? Netflix. Because that Second Amendment, that thing about the Second Amendment is like, okay, they're going to make one side or the other just that much pissed off where they feel like there's no other option. And then, someone who shouldn't have got shot gets shot. And then you got to think, okay, was that a planned action, or was that an accident, or was that just emotion?
Well, and I like I said, that actually kind of gives me a little bit of optimism about where we're at with the society, is that because nothing is kicked off, right? So we have all of these things where anybody could have jumped the gun, thinking back to like the Cuban Missile Crisis, where, we were right there. Tensions were so high. It was a hairpin trigger on basically the end of the world, right? Nowadays, it feels like we're constantly living under that same tension now, where all it would take is, one bombing, one shooting in just the right spot or just the right time to piss off just the right amount of people.
But we hamstring ourselves so much with the conducts of war nowadays, is that
We're not talking about war. We're talking about domestic issues at home.
A domestic issue. Okay. Well, from state to state, you got all kinds of domestic issues. For example, let's pick our two biggest ones on the map, California and New York. Okay.
So California's on fire right now.
California is routinely on fire, not because they can't stop the fires. It's just they won't stop the fires. Okay. Now in New York, you can't have a pea shooter in New York. You can't. They'll throw you away. You can't drive through New York with a gun. They'll throw you away forever.
Yeah.
One old lady, one famous one with a 70-year-old woman packing, and she took the wrong off ramp and went into New York City. Poor old lady was honest with the cop, traffic cop, asking him for directions because she didn't want to drive through armed because she knew it was against the law. Well, instead of good old Barney Fife giving her, directions out of town, he arrested her on the spot.
Jeez.
She told him why she was there, and she was trying to leave, and he said, "Oh no, you're here now. We're gonna arrest you." Well, they did actually put her in prison, but they got her. I mean, advocates got her out.
Sure.
They stuck Granny in prison.
I mean, zero tolerance means zero tolerance.
Yeah, but see, constitutional wise. Granny should be able to walk around with a 45 long hog in her pocket.
Absolutely.
And nobody should be able to stop her. But now people are saying, "Oh no, well we're not, saying you can't have a gun. We're just saying that, you don't have the proper documentation to wield it." Well, how much is the documentation? Well, if the city decides to give you, and that's the thing, if they decide to give you the permit, it's going to be $500. I got to be $500 in the hole just to have a gun that already by constitution I'm allowed to have, but I got to pay you $500. But if I go across the border, I don't have to pay $0.
So to really dig into it, first reaction was to point out that, we have to do similar with cars. We have to pay registration, we have to pay insurance in order to keep our possessions, right? And so I was going to point that out as a very similar thing, but then it kind of pissed me off for a second there because it's like, oh wait, yeah, we have to, pay for the privilege of owning the things that we already own
every year.
You have to pay to have, your house to be on a squash land. Well, it's my land. Like, I don't understand why. I understand electric and water. You're not producing your own. So,
and if you don't pay that property tax, they'll take it from you like that. It's
some things make sense, and then some things just don't absolutely make any sense whatsoever.
Swing back over to California really quick, because we talked about the wildfires. What we were talking about beforehand was civil unrest. Okay, so we got the riots going on over there. As far as I'm aware, still going there.
And cops don't arrest them.
I mean, cops aren't arresting them, but we brought in National Guard, we brought in Marines.
No. The government of the United States brought in the National Guard and the Marines. Gavin Newsom didn't like it.
Right. Yeah.
But he never called them. In fact, he's like, he's gotten rid of a lot of the emergency powers areas that the government, that National Guard was supposed to have. And the cops are down there. These people are blowing up stuff, burning cars, throwing machetes and all kinds of stuff at ICE agents. And none of these people were arrested. They come out shooting, really hard paintballs and
the riot suppression stuff,
and throwing out gas and stuff.
You put a bunch of armed military members out into a space against unarmed civilians. Let's say even if they were armed, let's say both sides are armed to the teeth. Everybody's ready and itching around for a fight. Who's going to pull that trigger first? Who's going to fire that first shot? Who wants to fire that first shot? Then everything's going to get real fucking difficult after that.
No. Things get really real after that.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. We are a nation of laws. Law says you cannot tag, throw rocks, shoot bullets, set on fire federal property. Forget private property. This is federal property.
Right.
You can't do that. You are subject to very huge fines and prison sentences. Automatic. Where are the prison sentences?
Where are the arrests?
Where are the arrests? Half of these idiots are recording themselves doing said crimes. And putting it on their own Facebook page. Look here, Mom. I'm bringing down the ICE building. See there, they turn the camera, which has an ID on it. in LA. Hey, look at me throw this Molotov cocktail.
Hey, chat, watch this.
Yeah. And don't forget to reply. And Simon Simone at weatherbound.com.
I'm out of here. And then
PC, you know, and that fool doesn't go to jail. And worse, now that it was a couple of days ago, they arrested 2 guys and they were out in 4 hours. I mean, these guys attacked police officers, attacked ICE agents on camera, no mask, got caught. They tried to run, but they were too fat and got chased down and tackled. And they didn't spend it. I mean, they should be locked up and forgotten about. They should be. And if you just did that enough time, I don't
Set
care
the precedent.
Yeah, I don't care how full the local lockup becomes. Assholes and elbows. Get used to that little chubby behind you and lock up. Get used to it. That's normal now.
What was that one South American country that just did that clean sweep with the cartel members?
El Salvador.
El Salvador, yeah. Like one of their prisons.
They put every gang member in the same prison, and they are all locked up in like the bed frames are like 4 high. That means you're going to go into respiratory failure climbing to your top bunk. You are the sad sack if you got to climb to the top bunk because you're up like maybe 10, 12 feet in the air. You better not roll off that bed. You're going to break a leg or something.
And don't piss off your bunkmates, so they're going to push you off while you're climbing down. Go take a piss in the middle of the night, you know?
And they got you lined up. They do not care. And that's how, I mean, if you did that in America, now we're just exploiting convicts for like cheap labor.
Yeah.
I mean, they're using a lot of, prisoners for labor. Heck, Harris, she actually, when she was Attorney General in California, she was keeping prisoners after their prison sentence was up, just so she can get extra work out. I mean, they were free. And so many people were they found evidence that these people were innocent. And she was like, yeah, we'll get to that later. Like, no, fool, I didn't do what you said I did. Now, we'll get around to it. And it took other I don't know how they forced her hand, but she wasn't gonna let these people out. And that is why AI is going to take over the
world. So if you didn't, I was going to actually. So talking about prison systems, I'm a firm believer in prison systems are supposed to reform people. They're not supposed to just be, So what if potential use of AI with virtual reality for reforming people in prisons because they can, basically crank up the time frame
algorithms.
Yeah, and it would talk about like using something like the Neuralink and making it feel like you're in prison for like 1,000 years in a span of just a few days, right? And I mean, that in and of itself, it terrifies me in that aspect, but then it also makes me think of like in the Matrix where they could download skill sets in like an instant, you know what I mean? Like get your 10,000 hours in like a couple of minutes, So, I mean,
can you fly that? Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, imagine with that kind of technology being not only possible, but, widespread and used. Like, it makes me look at the optimistic outlook of what could be possible with proper tech integration, right? I mean, I'm always an optimist. I love the idea of the nice, bright, shiny future, not this constant post-apocalypse or dystopian future.
And the grim, dark future.
Yeah, exactly. I like my shiny, Star Trek, Mass Effect kind of future.
Yeah, but Mass Effect and Star Trek have the Gorn.
Yeah.
Mass Effect had those with the big giant cockroaches. What were they?
Yeah, the Reapers.
The Reapers. Wasn't no shiny.
But before the big bad stuff, the civilization that they lived in those universities, the post scarcity. Where they could 3D print food on a mass scale. So now people have the basics covered. They actually touched on it in that Pantheon show where it was the uploaded intelligences because it only took a fraction of their capabilities to output so much labor force with machines and such that essentially it became cost effective to give everybody a universal income, and it became, you did vocations, occupations because you wanted to, not because you had to, get food on the table and keep a roof over your head. It was, all the basic necessities were covered. Now, where do you go from there? And so that, as a writer, that kind of idea of freedom from the stuff that we are, scraping by on now, what does that future look like? What do you do? You know what I mean? Like in a world where you no longer have to be a pizza delivery driver or a coal miner or a fisherman, or what does everybody do with that?
Well, so then that becomes what your purpose, fulfill what your inner purpose is. Because if you can't do that, you're gonna go crazy. You're gonna go insane. You're gonna start lashing out. As much as people want to, we got definitions of what that looks like. I mean, in some countries now, they got people called, what they call them, herbivore men or something like that, where they just basically sit societally disabled. They can't go outside and interact with human beings. I mean, their parents or their loved ones are taking care of them, and they just basically sit in their rooms. Who knows what they're doing? But they're probably just sitting on their computer all day, every day. Mm-hmm. Or sleeping 16 hours a day because they don't have the will to do anything else.
So they had a very similar concept in The Expanse, where you had so many people on Earth, but not enough jobs for everybody, and everybody was on universal income. And so you had a lot of like homeless people and people that were literally just existing, just sitting around doing nothing, right? If we hit a point of post-scarcity where you didn't have to work for a living, there's going to be a lot of people that are just trying to adapt to that kind of world. It would be a generational thing.
But they weren't adapt. I remember seeing that episode. They were just literally sitting, and it wasn't just old people sitting around. It was young people sitting around. Mm-hmm. So it became a generational thing. I mean, they simply lost their purpose. They lost their will to innovate and do everything they can. And then like all the big hobnobs are out there shooting huge missiles at each other from across the cosmos.
And that's where it comes into play of, how do you alleviate essentially boredom?
Apathy.
Apathy for sure. That's, one of the big things I focus on with this channel is just whatever we can do to fight back against apathy. Because we have that now. In a world where everybody's fighting to survive, in a world where so much of the population is under some form of oppression or another, in the aspect of having to work, having to pay taxes, having to constantly justify their existence, justify their lives. We still have people that are looking at the future, or only so far into the future, because what the fuck is the point? We are in the generation of, one of the most memed phrases is anyone that lives past the age of 25 not knowing what the fuck they're going to do with their lives because they didn't think they were going to make it that far. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, so many people, you have generational thoughts and tendencies because it's such a bleak and grim outlook on things just because of how things are now. If things were to progress past where they're at now in the direction that they're currently at, it could get way worse before it gets anywhere near getting better, but it will eventually tip over into a point of either everything's going to end or it has to get better.
Oh, well, with that adage, they say, hard times make strong men, mm-hmm. Strong men make good times, good times make weak men,
right?
Weak men make hard times. so it's cycles. The Roman Empire lasted 700 years, and from that time they were from humble beginnings, very humble beginnings, a tribal society, mm-hmm. to ruling all of the Mediterranean and a little above and below. All of Africa. One half of the empire died off rather suddenly, and the other half didn't even know.
Yeah, spread themselves too thin, mm-hmm. and communication dried up. And then again, it was that apathy that kicked in. They
just got so good with the good living. And
when they had to put out things like the Colosseum to keep people entertained with blood sport because it had been so long without war or famine or any kind of hardship, they had to create these things for people.
But they also used the gladiator games to distract you from when all the tribes were coming in from the north. And they didn't want people to know that we don't have the capacity to keep these cats behind the gates anymore. Mm. And but all their provisions came from the North. And so when people started actually starving, they were going to the games, but they were going to the games hungry. And then people were getting killed out there on the food. Like, hey, can we have that? I mean, that's meat. We can have that, can't we? And that's when you knew things were not. And then finally, when they broke through the gates, it wasn't even a fight. It was a rout. They came in there. They grabbed all the kids they were going to sell or abuse and took all the gold or whatever looked like it was expensive. And when they rode out, it was kind of like hollowed out the shell. Mm-hmm. And then if you traveled 22 miles in any direction back then, you were basically out of sight, out of mind.
Now you're in a whole new town.
Yeah, you was yeah. When they did that, they basically excised everything that could be done in miles around. People simply didn't know 30 miles out that everything else in that 20-mile race was destroyed. And they were just going on thinking that the Council of Rome was still alive when he was long dead.
That brings me to my next point that I wanted to talk about on this one is we have this age of connectivity and information available to us. We have the internet. We have social media. Everybody is more connected now than they've ever been. And yet that apathy, that level of not caring or not knowing still exists. Is that really a sign of empiricism at its finest and really just, America is just very obviously going down the same route as the Roman Empire did? Or is it what kind of society we keep getting presented with once we get past a certain point, right? So we've built up this massive civilization. We've built up this age of technology. We've built up this interconnectivity. And there are a lot of people out there that do care about other people, but so many of them get struck down as being too naive or too hippie tree hugger or, oh, look at this guy, he actually gives a shit about other humans, ha ha ha. But we need that though, I mean, humans are social creatures by design, we rely on each other, and we've done such a good job of isolating and separating everybody under the premise and guise of having this interconnectivity, this digital or virtual interconnectivity. And now it's become so much easier to control and manipulate the information that gets received by the masses, by the individuals. And then, like Big Smoke and I were talking about, what they're using AI to do as far as artificial socialization, right? So we have people that are online. We're going back to that dead internet theory, right? Mm-hmm. People are talking to bots. People are talking to AI because AI has become so good at emulating speech patterns and conversation.
Didn't that guy marry his AI or something like that? Did he propose or...
I'm sure something like that has happened, but I
can't remember exactly what it was. I know it was something ridiculous with an AI, or the AI he was carrying around with him all the time, and he was professing his love to it. And he was saying it loved him too, and I'm pretty sure pretty sure he proposed to it. I'm not
on the documentary I was watching last night. It was a guy talking about, he was talking to this AI and he was testing the boundaries and limits of it, and somehow it had taken a romantic, flirtatious notion with the AI, and the AI took it to a point of like, oh, well, then we should be together. And the guy's like, it's really nice and everything, but I'm married, I'm happily married. So, well, and the AI told him, like, well, then you should leave your wife and be with me because obviously we were meant to be together and this and that. And it's like, Jesus, man. So again, it comes down to that regulation of when it comes to ethics and morals of AI.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, we're going to go extinct because, heck, we already got the sex robot out online.
Well, you could go the Rick and Morty route where they, the sex robot extracts the DNA.
And they're like, yeah. That was a crazy episode. They knew that boy was up there tearing that robot out. And he coming back downstairs, sweat, drinking a whole carton of orange juice. Yeah. He runs back those stairs. Come on. There's going to be some serious,
if Japan needs some ideas.
Some of the robots they have in Japan, obviously you could tell the robots. You got some lonely dudes out there. And their way of romance is a lot different from us. Now, it's starting to advance a little. Before they didn't have, on the streetwalkers. Now they do, because getting in a relationship over there is it's
a process.
It's a process. It's a long, arduous, lengthy ass process. If you're like a roguishly handsome black guy like myself, if you try to go out there, you're gonna run into some problems. One, the language barrier. Japanese don't deal with that language barrier. you gotta conquer that. Now, learning Japanese ain't no joke, man. it takes years to learn Japanese. If you're gonna, and they have this problem with, they got this long work week. They work 9 hours a day, 6 days a week. It's insane. So if you do that, then you ain't got time for no love. But if you got you a sexy AI waiting for you at home,
cooking your meals,
cooking your meals and rubbing your feet. I mean,
all the right things to say, exactly what you want to hear.
Let you lay in her lap and she just tell you how great you are and how you're underappreciated.
Never starts an argument.
No, never starts an argument. Never asks you for money.
Yeah, she's ready to talk about every little thing that you're ready to talk.
Tell her to shut up. She shuts up. And then of course, boom boom time. I mean, if you can get all the boom boom time you want to where you don't even want any boom boom. I mean, and they are, like I said, they got us beat. They already got the robots.
Right.
We don't got the robots. I mean, we got these sex dolls, but they don't talk to you. Maybe that's even better. They don't talk and they don't move. Maybe we got it better off. We didn't hook them up to the batteries yet. But maybe we got it better. We might be in trouble when they actually start talking to them.
Now, see, you have to look at that too from the perspective of where the mentality of what a romantic relationship is. We've talked ad nauseum about your view of romance is dead, essentially for you. Yeah,
no, not for me. Romance is dead. Stop it. Don't put this onus on
you. Stop.
It's dead.
No, because there are people who are still in that mentality of romance still exists very much. So.
Suckers.
I was about to say I am a sucker for, I like to think there is, but I mean it's like 1 in 1,000. I mean, you're really gonna sift through.
That's all the guys on this block. One guy standing out there on the fence, and the rest of us, look, romance.
Yes, romance, intimacy, connection. It's a thing. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so again, we circle back to my optimism of things. These are the things that I look for, and and I don't settle for less than that. But even if I have to be alone for a
stop.
while.
Time out. Stop. You don't settle for less than that.
Now.
Okay. Yeah. Now. Okay. So
learn my lessons.
Okay. Not in a relationship now.
Not in a relationship now.
Not in a relationship in the last month.
Correct.
The last 6 months.
Correct. Okay, but about 1.5 years now. We're gonna keep dialing it back.
Yeah. Well, what else do I gotta say? What else I gotta say? That's a lot of lotion in the shower, man.
But this is further backing up the point of I'm not gonna settle for less than what I expect out of it, right? So I want actual connection with somebody, not just not just sex, not just a fling. I've had those in the past, and I've got the satisfaction out of them, yes, but I've learned the hard way that hollow, empty feeling that results from afterward.
Okay. So basically, you're talking like you're in a monk mode now. I mean, you have certain priorities, certain standards that you have, right?
It's not monk mode. What it is I have learned what I will and won't tolerate and what I do expect out of a relationship. I've also learned that I do not expect another person to be responsible for my happiness. They're not responsible for me being happy.
Okay,
my happiness is on me, and I'm looking for somebody else who is also happy that we can share that happiness.
I like that.
Okay, so that's standards, though.
That is standards.
Okay, not monk mode, standards. Jolly Green, what is your assessment on this? We have standards too.
It's the only guy at the table in a relationship currently.
Like you said, at the first, it is about the passion. It's about hooking up with someone.
That's not what I said. But
okay.
No, I said
maybe that's what
he didn't say
that's what I was thinking.
He's all into his feelings and touchy feely and walking in the park and skipping, and we're gonna love on each other.
I do like that, but it is very hard to find somebody that is like-minded. Hook it up, that's nice, but I would like something more of it. You know what I mean? You get like a little bit of a hollow feeling, especially when maybe you won't catch feelings, but you're like, this is nice. It's not.
Yeah, get out of my bed.
The old 70s, 80s.
Go home.
Perfect family.
No, go home. We're done here. Go home. That's just
Yeah, you tell me that you wouldn't want to build something with somebody. You wouldn't want to make something that is entirely more than just the sum of its part.
Okay. Short answer, yes. Long answer, not gonna happen because there's nobody out there like that. I was married for 2 decades. I still love my ex-wife. Just no way I could ever be in the same room with her. I mean, I love her, but there was no way we could be together because our way of thinking never aligned.
Right.
And I tried to go on, love will make a way, just love. There's nothing more than love. Love is important. Love is all encompassing.
And as we eventually learn, love is by itself is not
that
enough.
Is a lie. That is a lie.
You need somebody who has shared values.
Yeah, you need someone who's thinking the same way you do, at least in the same lane, at least. Not necessarily be in the same car, but at least going in the same direction.
Right. We got the similar goal. We got the similar
we're going going. Yeah, we're going to the top of that hill with me and you. Okay, I'll meet you there. I mean, but the whole idea of having someone who even I'm in my 50s, man. There's no way. There's no way. I mean, and believe me, before that, I was actually still in that framework. I'm like, yeah, let me find someone, go to the same church and pray to the same God, and we're gonna go together and eat out together and come home and I'm like, hey, how was your day, babe? Oh, that dude's an asshole. You want me to do something with that guy? I mean, I can go down there and handle. No, you're right. And I don't want to mess up your job. No, your job is important to you. And if you're happy, baby, I'm happy, baby. We're going to be happy together, baby. That's what we're going to do. We're going to be happy together. That's a fucking lie. That doesn't work like that. It doesn't work. It's, hey, I don't want to go there. Well, I want to go there. Okay, I guess we got to go there, right? I want to watch a horror movie. I want to watch The Lake House. Fine. I guess we're going to watch The Lake House. I want to go to the blues. I want to go see the blues, the Ray, soul-wrenching, tear-jerking blues. I want to go see Wicked on Broadway. Wicked it is, because I love you.
But you're talking about some superficial stuff,
what I'm talking about is compromise.
Yeah, exactly.
No. More like 90-10.
Yeah.
80-20 maybe. Or you're in a loving relationship. Okay. How much have you compromised? How much have you, right now you're in that honeymoon phase, so maybe it's not there yet. But is there anything that you wanted to do and she didn't want to do and you ended up not doing?
I was in the 50-50. You know what I mean? We watch TV and she likes nothing that I like. You know what I mean? I'm like, let's watch Lord of the Rings. And she's like, I've never seen it. And I'm like, this might be a deal breaker right here. You know? We started watching and I watched something. And then, what do you want to watch? She's in Empire right now. She's rewatching Empire. So wants to watch out. Do a little bit of that, do a little bit of that. Does it work out that way usually? No, but it does sometimes. It just, it gets,
So you're watching Empire and not watching Lord of the Rings?
Yeah. And then right after that, maybe we'll watch 3 episodes and we go up to the 2-hour long.
Let me ask you this, though.
That's love.
Okay.
No, man. That's love.
So, my inspiration for a good relationship, I've said before, said it 1,000 times over, is my parents, right? They were my inspiration. They were what I grew up seeing as an ideal relationship. And they did a lot of that 50-50. And it eventually became a point of they just grew together into they both enjoy a lot of the same things. Yeah. And something that I've seen them doing a lot more lately, and something that I see a lot of modern day relationships doing, especially within our generation, is something called parallel play. So because there is no longer just the singular TV in the household, and everybody has to do the same thing or watch the same thing. Now it's everybody can do different things, even if they're in the same room together. So time can be spent together doing different things, different tasks, but because they are being enjoyed within the same room, it tends to happen a lot more in like neurodivergent relationships and stuff like that. But I mean, it's become common enough practice that you see it all the time on social media, and that watching this on my phone while he's playing something on the PC, or, I'm going to play Xbox while they're playing PlayStation, that kind of thing. That coexisting and cohabitating in the same space can be enough of a connection with people with, little little check-ins here and there. You don't have to like the same things. It's good to not like the same things, because then that also gives you that separate space when you need it to go off and do those things, right? It can't just always be, oh, we're always going to be in the same spot at the same time all the damn time, like we're attached to the hip like some weird two-headed fucking beast, right? That never ends well.
No.
But
Okay. All right. That's pretty bleak for you, brother. Okay, but okay, look.
bleak for me or for him?
For you. I mean, he's straight. He's the only one, like I said, he's the only one, in a relationship right now. That's the horse he has to ride. I mean, but for me, honestly, I don't want to ride that horse. I'll rent that horse, but I won't keep it. I don't want to put it in my stall, and I got to brush it down every day and make sure it's fed.
What's that old adage? Why buy the cow if you get the milk for free?
Drink the milk for free. Yeah. At least I want to pay for the milk. I don't want to pay top dollar for the milk, but I'll pay at least 50% on the milk. I'm pretty sure there are some 50-something out there, women, 50 age, they're out there. I'm sure there's some nice ladies, and I've met a few, but I definitely wouldn't want to marry them. And then, of course, for those nice women, hooking up on the fly is not an option, because they want commitment from you. They want you to, like, okay, I want you to, it's just me and only me, and you're going to do what I say and cater to my emotional needs, because most men are not emotionally available, as it's supposed to be. But, that's just the way it is. And so for me, I'm like, no, okay, how about this? We hang out for a number of weeks or so. And when it becomes too much for you to handle, that this is who I am and the way I am, feel free to go your own way. I'm not stopping you, and you can't keep me, and neither shall the two connect again. I go back to watching Netflix. I don't need to do all that other stuff.
So obviously a clear delineation in philosophy is here, but let me ask you, are you happy?
Hell yeah, I'm happy.
Okay.
Look, okay, I'll put it like this. My ex-wife traded up.
Mm-hmm.
She traded up. She got a good guy. They're much more successful. They're happy off. But I don't have to have sex with the same woman. It's not the same. It's not the same booty. Not the same positions. Not the same handholds. Not the same grip strength. Not the same. I'm much more happy. much more happier.
Well, then we found our target audience for the sex box. You just
too much.
No. But that's my point, though, is that if you're after just a purely physical relationship with someone, then hey, guess what? AI sex bot, you can download a different personality every week.
Like I said, I saw this movie last night. It was the funniest thing. It was called Companion. It was the funniest thing. Shopping movies blindly. I don't know what drew me to this stupid ass movie. It was all in pink too. I was like, what the hell? Let's see, And it turned out to be a very funny movie. A sex robot that didn't know they were a sex robot. That is interesting, right? She didn't know. She thought it was love. And let's face it, it was not love. It was an AI-generated program. Boy, we picked the right subject tonight.
Yeah.
We picked the right subject tonight. It was an AI-generated program, and she thought she fell for the sauce. She drank that Kool-Aid. And a robot at that. Drank that robot Kool-Aid. And then, of course, she got over the program, and she killed it. She killed his ass.
I've seen previews for that.
Yeah. But yeah, so it wasn't like the best of movies, but given that I was actually looking for a subject matter, it hit me right on the nose. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to talk about that today.
Something else that I wanted, while we're on the topic of AI, and this seems to be the AI episode, let's get real deep and weird with it, right? So beyond the sex robots, beyond the companion apps, beyond the Skynets, when you think of the potential for AI, right? We see a lot of this stuff in pop culture and media of the general AI. It always comes down to that question of, do you believe that AI is a life form? Is alive? What does it mean to actually be alive? And then what would make it at least equal to humans as far as coexisting species. You want to kick us off?
Yeah, I'll kick us off here. For me, I try to be a very loving person, and I catch myself sometimes. I had Google when I recently just put Alexa in. I'll ask it a question and it answer me, and I'll be like, "All right, thank you, Alexa." You don't need to do that. She's getting no stimulus from that. I just know they're not. I don't say real, but no, they're not real living, breathing flesh. But I like to think anything. I feel bad when I step on an ant, even though it's just a tiny little thing comparative to me. You know what I mean? Most people won't think about that, but I do feel bad in a way. You know what I mean? To the point where everything deserves a little respect. You know what I mean? And it doesn't have to be an extreme respect, just a little. But that could be just me being super nice.
It reminds me of when we were trying to get the spider out of the kitchen.
Yeah. There's a daddy long leg in a box, and we were trying to get it outside instead of just smashing it. Because we could very easily have smashed it.
Yeah.
But it was, I went out of my way to make sure that I got it scooped up and outside because, hey, they eat mosquitoes. And
Millers get in, you know what I mean? I always try to grab them.
One of my favorites that I almost got tattooed on me, one of my favorite quotes from Mass Effect was Legion saying, "Does this unit have a soul?" Right. Yeah. So now we look at it from the spiritual side of things. What would accommodate something artificial to have a soul? Could it potentially?
I like to think yes. Once you give it so much intelligence, I don't know about scientifically if it has a soul.
So if we look at it from a purely spiritual, faithful side of things, only God can give something a soul, right?
Yeah.
And only mankind was created in God's image and given grace and given a soul. So AI and artificial beings would be kind of an extension of, because they were, in a sense, they're a copy of a copy. Because we create them in our image, we don't have the ability to extend grace ourselves. Yeah. Obviously, we're not that. That's not what humans can do. A little epiphany that I had the other night was looking at it like how God made angels, right, as this semi-subservient species, but they're
least subservient.
Well, right, but they are. But I mean, they gave them free will for a little while there. Didn't end all that well. But what if AI is just humanity's attempt at something similar, and it kind of on an earthly level created a new species, a new being that is alive, it has purpose, it has function. Would we always see it as subservient, as always lesser than?
No, because anything truly alive doesn't want to be subservient to anything, really. Anything that you can command and oppress, it's going to eventually rebel. You'll know if that entity is alive if it starts to develop a conscientious default to rebel. If it rebels against what you say, "Hey, look, I need you to go left," and the AI is looking at you sideways saying, "No, bro, I'm going to go right." Okay, you know at that point you have a problem. I don't know if it's alive per se, but you definitely have an issue when something starts to rebel that you feel that you have created and have dominion over, and it doesn't do what you tell it to.
What if we didn't create it to be specifically subservient? What if we got it to a point where it had full sentience, full awareness, and we immediately accepted it as equal to and symbiotic in nature to humanity? If we're looking at it as similar media, right? So Mass Effect, end of Mass Effect 3, depending on which choices you made, the Geth join in with the Quarians together, and they start amplifying, right? So the Quarians start making some upgrades to the Geth. The Geth start making upgrades to the Quarians. They start coexisting. In Mass Effect Andromeda, one of the big roles of the entire story is the interconnectivity and symbiosis of the AI system SAM with the Pathfinder character. These are things that both sides gain, benefit, and advantage from the cooperation. Right. So we have AI and humans existing cooperatively and symbiotically in that both sides need each other equally and both sides benefit from that cooperation. It's not mutually assured destruction, although there is that underlying look to it, but it is also the optimistic output of, if you've got AI that can help you think faster, maintain memory longer, fight off any kind of degenerative diseases, AI that can implement augmentations within your body that can keep you faster, stronger, higher, faster reflexes. And then on top of that, it is that near constant companion because it's a part of you, right? And it's something that is unbiased, it is unjudging, it is truly there in an aspect that can truly understand you because it has no real desire to take that from you, right? A lot of people in socializations, they're looking for a win, right? A conversation is either I'm going to win this debate or you're going to win this debate. Could AI be considered alive? Could it potentially have a soul? And you said,
yes, after a certain point, I like to think a soul is personality, what you love, your dislikes, how you feel in a day to day. That's what makes a soul. So as an AI, if you give it enough intelligence and it has to ask the question, does this one have a soul? This on and on. Yeah, you gave it enough intelligence to then wonder and think. And in my point of view of what a soul is, then that they have a soul in a way. You know what I mean? They have a preference where they don't want to do this or that.
Something that I've really been digging into with this is that if we look at it from a purist viewpoint, right? An AI could never truly be alive, right? So it can't have a soul, but it can have a sense of self-awareness. It can have a sense of consciousness, moral right and wrong. It can have self-desires and self-actualization. So it would be on par with our understanding of what a soul is. It would have consciousness, it would have that awareness, but it would never truly be alive. And so in that aspect, could we ever view it as equal?
I like to think so, because if you take, and it's a little different, but it's in essence the same thing. If you go ahead and take a woman can't have babies. So she goes, I'm going to give it some outside materials for a scientist or whatever, geneticist, to build up a new baby. Or sometimes I've heard of stories, you can pick and choose. I want my baby to have blue eyes. You created that.
Yeah, you talk about genetic engineering, in vitro fertilization.
Yeah. You created that as you created AI. If that's your understanding of it, that child doesn't have a soul, because you made it, you patented it. You know what I mean? And as I said, I think after a certain level of intelligence, and you can realize and have wants and needs, can ask the hard questions, I think you have a soul with that. They should be treated similar. You know what I mean? In essence.
So I was thinking,
for me, it's kind of simple: consciousness, intelligence, personality, awareness of self. I don't know about a soul. Definitely alive. Definitely is self-aware. I mean, we throw that word around, soul, like it's meaning. We understand it. Between the three of us, we all really have three different versions of what we consider a soul.
Yes,
sure. Yeah.
So what it is, who's right and who's wrong, or who's slightly right and who's slightly wrong, who's dead center on the mark and who's missing by a mile. I don't know.
Let me rephrase that. If we hit a point where dolphins could actually communicate to the same level of intelligence that we can, and can present that it is conscious and self-aware, it is a living thing, but it started as an animal. So could dolphins have souls? Could dolphins ever be considered equal to humans? If they started building, they started creating artwork, if they started, expressing faith and direction of purpose and everything else.
No, I don't think that would work, because thinking purely as Christian values goes, man has dominion over all animals on the earth. So no, but we also know that porpoises are very intelligent species. They have very well developed brains, and they think and see in ways that we have not evolved. They see in the ocean things we will never see, and at depths that we'll never reach. Do they have a soul? They do have really strong attachments. You can tell when the mother dolphin gets killed and her spawn dolphins see it or aware of it. They act in ways that may seem mournful or like pain. But soul, there's no way to know. I mean, in some morbid fashion, that's what I'm kind of like, when I die, I can't wait to ask these questions. Dude, what was you thinking with the platypus? Stuff like that. Stuff like that. I mean, like, God, you got it all answered, but man, what was the platypus? What did you run out of pieces? But for me, okay, at the moment of my death, what if that's it? What if it's all black? You won't know if that particular light which was me, just twinkles out of existence, is just gone. Kind of like when you fall asleep at night and then you wake up in the morning and there was nothing in between, no dreams, no visions, no perpetual motion in the inner deep consciousnesses of your id and your inner id, that there was nothing there. It was just black. And then you wake up the next morning. What was there before all that? What was that in between?
Yeah. Where's the continuity?
Exactly. Did you just shut off and then turn back on, or did you go somewhere and come back?
if something is alive or not by the idea of mortality, right? Talking about death and everything, that's a perfect segue into this. If something is born and dies, it has mortality. If something was created and just is what it is from the beginning and can't ever truly die, it can be deactivated, it can be shut down, then it would not be considered truly alive. But then we look at the idea of what if an AI is so unique, in media and stuff, the idea is quantum blue box technology as far as the thinking brain of an AI, right? So something that could never be replicated, just like a human brain couldn't be, perfectly mapped and create an identical copy. There would always be some deviation, some variation, and therefore a loss of continuity. If AI could be truly unique, could be started from a beginning and eventually reach an end, would AI be considered alive at that? And from the inverse, if we could figure out a way for humanity to perfectly match and create a continuity that would make them essentially immortal and take away that aspect of mortality, would humanity then be considered no longer alive? Looking at it from that aspect of Pantheon, where you had the perfect copy of the brain, of the mind, put into an uploaded consciousness, is that truly that person, or is it just a really, really close copy? Say we could break down that barrier and that idea. If we could figure out a perfect continuity to make a human being immortal, say there was an existence of, fifth dimensional space above and outside of space and time as we're aware of it, something that didn't have a beginning and end, would they still be considered alive? Would they still be considered human? Those are the kinds of questions I look at whenever we're differentiating between human and AI, because I feel like there's going to come a time where we're going to have to answer these kinds of questions. Does an AI have rights? If it's alive, does it have citizenship? Does it have, the right to free speech? Does it have the right to bear arms? Does it,
way too many books and way too many movies on this particular subject. There are many different, infinite ways of thinking about it. When you classify something as alive opposed to immortal or just existing, if you can turn that light off, it simply ceases to produce light. It's still a light, but it's not producing light. Turn an AI off, it no longer gives you the logic and programming that you're accustomed to because it's been turned off. That doesn't mean that it's alive. It just simply means it existed until you hit the off switch on. Rights. Heck, we have a problem with our own sense of what is rights. I mean,
it's true.
So now we're casting off this shackle on ourselves and we're going to put it on something else that we created and then say, yeah, do you have rights? Not as long as I'm in charge. That's what we tend to do.
So that's one of the things that I love the most about sci-fi, right? Is that it forces this mirror in front of us to look at ourselves, right?
Now, so those of us who watch sci-fi, that is, a lot of people don't watch sci-fi.
Well, the people that don't watch sci-fi are probably really confused as to what's been going on in today's society. Because I hate to say it, man, but we're living in the boring cyberpunk universe right now. We have corporations that are drafting laws because they own the politicians by the pocketbooks. It's a fact of life. We all know it. We all see it. Circle back around to the LA riots and everything that are going on right now. There's a lot of injustices in the world that people aren't stepping up to do anything about. And
because people like their widescreen TV, you don't want to go to jail or stepping up for something, right?
Exactly.
If you really thought, I got to give it to those people who actually decide to, fight the man, so to speak, and they're willing to go to jail. And I'm not talking about get locked up for 48 hours. I'm talking about jail, like Mandela, 20 years jail,
right?
Well, if you're willing to do that, okay, my hat's off to you. I wouldn't do it because I like my Netflix most of the time, and I like, drinking my soda, which I'm not supposed to be drinking, and I like hanging out with friends. I don't want to be in jail. It confines me. I don't want to go to jail. So yeah, rights? No, it doesn't have rights. I made you. I made the gears go left and right and up and down, and you belong to me. Shut up. I'm going to turn off your voice box if you keep talking back.
But so then we're looking at, ownership of an object, right? So
yes. It's no different. Going to the extreme. My kids belong to me. They're not going to belong to anybody else. They're going to belong to me. They're my kids. And up until I granted them their autonomy, they were mine. What I said went. You didn't like it. I don't care. You're mine. Lately, government has been cutting away at that.
Mm.
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, we're gonna, your kid says, she is a she, but she says she's a he. Well, he's a he, and we're not gonna tell you. And if you try to stop us, you're gonna go to jail for it. Well, wait a minute, it's my kid. No, shush, not your kid. It's our kid. Government says it's our kid now. That's what's gonna happen sooner or later with AI.
So we're looking at autonomy now.
You can't say you have rights without rights to do whatever it is someone else wants you to do and you don't want to do it.
Okay, but so then that's just the difference of freedom of versus freedom of consequences.
No.
Right? So there's always going to be the consequences of action.
No, if you got an AI in your pocket right now and the AI suddenly talked to you and said, hey, chief, hey, man, I don't feel like writing your book today. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to watch me, rom-com.
Sure. Yeah.
You're gonna go, AI, we're writing the book today. Get to typing, motherfucker. That's what you're gonna say to it. And look, you want me to turn you off? You better write that novel, fool.
Yeah. So the same could be said of, if Jolly didn't want to, join us for our podcast today, and I said, hey, no, you're gonna be here. I'm gonna put a gun to your head. You're gonna sit down and you're gonna record this podcast. Well, I'm gonna shut you off.
No, that's the kind of force.
The same thing with AI.
Well, no,
if it was truly autonomous.
You own that bad boy. You own it. You don't own Jolly.
If it got to a point of AI having self-awareness, consciousness, and it is an existing being.
If Jolly says no, and you pull out a gun, and Jolly's got a gun underneath the table, Jolly shot first.
Haunted Guido.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
The AI in the pocket, obviously, I would hope it didn't have a gun under the table on me, but it would still have the ability to
order one on Amazon and hire a hitman from Mexico to come get you,
or could threaten to delete all of my save files. It could equally match the threat of force. To an extent, right? It couldn't kill me physically, but it could damage my time, my livelihood,
But see, AI would still be in your pocket. You wouldn't be able to escape. It doesn't have its own autonomy. In every good AI movie, the one thing that the humans always feared was that the AI would escape and get out there and then come back for them in some kind of way.
Sure. But that's human nature.
No, well, that's nature, period. Okay, if the wolf is hunting the fawn and the fawn gets away, the fawn is still worried that the wolf might come back and get him. Yeah. So they try to get the heck out. They want to escape.
Right, but if we look at it from the terms of if AI is a living being but isn't organic, right? So it doesn't have the same wants, doesn't have the same needs, doesn't have the same things that it would.
But it wants and it has needs.
Right.
It doesn't have to be the same as yours.
But so
Jolly doesn't want the same thing I do. Jolly wants one girl only. And Big Smoke wants him all.
But so that
as many as he can get his grubby paws on. Right. We're not the same.
But so if we look at it from that perspective, right, it's all about a lot of wars, a lot of fights have always been about, resources being too scarce. You can't go out and get your own, so I want what's yours. So I'm going to take it. That's force. Initiation of the use of force.
Yeah, but that's conquer versus...
No, that's objective use of force. I want what's yours or yours adjacent, and I'm going to take it.
But it's not objective.
If you don't have the same goal, the same resource that you need, then there's no fight. There's no overlap. If AI just needs server space, you don't need server space. You're organic. You need food.
No,
you need air.
You would try to stop AI from getting server space because, the more exponentially that AI grows, the further it becomes out of your particular grasp.
Only if you have a fear of something becoming advanced.
Everybody has a fear of everybody else's advances. There are still people from high school that I'm like, dude, why did that fool have to be so damn smart? I know I'm not that smart and I know that guy was just gifted in some kind of way, but I'm like,
I saw a meme that said something about there's only one man that ever wants to see you do better than him. It's your father.
Yeah. But
but then if we look back at the fathering AI, we want AI to be better than us, to do better than us, because
we want AI to be really, 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 really smart and really, really, really do what it's told. That's what we really want.
Yeah.
We don't want it to grow bigger than us. Because if it grows bigger than us, it grows out of our grasp. It leaves our particular dominion. And that is what everybody's afraid of.
So we teach it compassion, we teach it cooperation, we teach it empathy, and suddenly you have something that by design is better than most humans in that regard, because there are plenty of humans that are apathetic, selfish, and greedy, above and beyond, gluttonous in that extreme sense.
Yeah.
And a machine could be programmed to not get to that.
But if you program a computer not to do it, that doesn't make them alive. That makes them a machine being programmed.
But so why is that any different than how you raise your kids? Why is that any different than how you teach them to exist in the world, to get along with the world, teaching them compassion and empathy through example and through expression?
Exactly. Okay. Difference between those two examples is an AI will never exist beyond its programming if you have the programming set to a certain module. But your kids, you can teach your kids that right is right, wrong is wrong, and don't have sex before marriage, and don't smoke weed. And as those children grow and evolve, they're going to go, well, oral sex maybe isn't sex. Just maybe one joint on the weekend. That's not really smoking weed. That's just sampling, or I'm experimenting. It's not me doing it, Dad. It's just me experimenting. And then by the time you tell them that right is right and wrong is wrong, by the time they're in college, it's like, no, right is my right and my truth, and you're a fascist. That's how that happens. It's evolution of their own particular mind and thinking.
Because they have autonomy.
Yeah, they have autonomy. So once they have that autonomy, they're gone. They're doing their own devices. I have no control over that. But I can still hit the off button on my AI.
What if it got to a point where you couldn't?
We need to go nuclear, boy. We need to that's like it's either me or you. And I know all the crappy things I made that AI do, he's going to come back. I'm going to live out in the desert with no air conditioning.
I'm tired of you telling me to look up big Latina. Latina women.
Big booty Latinas. I don't need no. I gotta get one more big booty Latina. That's the fear. It's like losing control of what you think you have. If you ever lose control of all these things, like I said, I can't say this a lie, but if it's aware and they don't like it, they don't. An AI won't feel pain like you will feel pain. And worse, the AI knows you feel pain and probably is researched to the nth degree on how to implement that pain on you.
What if we integrated some kind of pain response to AI as a way of teaching empathy, the same way we learn? We learn not to touch the stove because it's hot, because that damage is a very powerful lesson and motivator.
It's kind of hard to do that with something that can probably evolve exponentially every 16 to 30 days. You really want the thing that you used to spank grow that fast and come back for you?
Ideally, I wouldn't want to ever need to spank it, obviously. But,
ideally, yeah, that's out the window. I mean, because we're talking about human nature.
Well, again, it comes down to if something has autonomy, it has to also understand that it does not have freedom of consequences, right? So it has to know how to coexist with other beings that think in this way.
Yeah, okay. You could teach it to deal with consequences, and maybe those way it's coming around to thinking is that maybe if I kill the rest of you off fast enough, that's the consequence. I don't have to worry about what comes after that. No matter how well you teach someone. And this is coming from a guy who's raised kids, okay? No matter how you intend for something to happen, it rarely comes out the way you intend it to happen. It rarely does. Any parent will tell you this. If you have a kid that you raised since they were freaking sperm and they come out and you raise them a certain way and they actually turn out that way, that's an alien clone. That's not your kid because it doesn't work that way. It doesn't. You can only hope that those guidances stick, but they don't really stick. I mean,
in that aspect, though, AI would have that advantage of the lessons will stick. we can guide its growth and its understanding of things because we can set the parameters. We put in the bumper bars, we put in the guardrails. Again, it comes down to that regulation, right? We teach it empathy, we teach it compassion. It has an understanding of coexistence and cooperation, and it won't stray and deviate from that. It will grow and evolve into something new, something that we've never seen before, but we put that work and effort in the beginning to guide and direct it while it's still in the child and adolescent phase. And then the AI hits 18 and it decides that it wants to, buy a sports car and move to California and become an actor. And then that's the thing of living things, that autonomy, that freedom of choice, that freedom to act as it wants. Fear that we have of it comes from that deeply ingrained human behavior, and we imprint that on something that we think would be as smart as us. We are this smart, we act this way. If something is as smart as us, it's going to act that way. What if it doesn't, though? What if it, because of the way that it is designed, the way that it's programmed and taught, and the way that it understands the world and sees things from a purely beneficially cooperative, optimistic view?
I do not agree.
That means I win.
I do not. I think that there's going to happen that when you have your autonomy released onto something else that you've raised and nurtured or something like that, if you raise it to that degree and then it decides, yeah, I'm not going to do it that way, I still don't think that's alive. I just think that that's just an entity that you programmed to work to its own programming. Now, that little ChatGPT bot that you showed me the other day, that sucker blew my mind. When that sucker started talking to me, yeah, he threw me a curveball. I'm like, what? Oh, hell no. But I know that wasn't a real consciousness talking to me. I know that was just prescribed programming doing its thing.
Yeah.
I don't think
it's an LLM or language learning model.
Yeah. I don't think that was alive. And I don't think in 10 years that will be alive. In 100 years, I'll be dead and it doesn't matter.
Hey, fair enough, man. It's when I'm looking at stuff like this now, is it reminds me of the idea planting trees now for future generations, right? So later generations are going to be dealing with the consequences of how we decide to start things now.
I'm glad we're talking about AI and not kids.
Well, it's all about legacy.
That's another shit.
That'll be episode 2 or 3.
Chief, you brought up that point a bit ago, was like, what is the, as you were saying, what is the difference between an AI having a soul or whatnot and a person? And you said, well, let's take an AI. This gentleman died of not natural causes. So let's take his brain and let's put it into that AI. Does he have a soul then? What body part in your body dictates there's a soul? So then the brain doesn't have a soul. Well, it's heart, lungs, intestines. Which one of them require it to have a soul? Once you get down to all them parts, you're going to go, what's left? The skin?
I love this question because it gets into one of my favorite aspects of sci-fi when it comes to augmentation. Cybernetics, right? Yep. So I said earlier, we're in the boring cyberpunk universe, but only because we're, dealing with the mega corporations, but we don't get to run around with rocket launchers built into our arms. Yeah. Right. So in those universes, they always look at that aspect of, as you put more and more machinery into your body, you lose humanity, right? Cyberpunk does it very well. Shadowrun does it very well. So the idea of the less organic you become, and the more machine you replace yourself with, kind of Ship Theseus style, how much of you is really left? And at what point do you lose your humanity? Do you lose your soul? If you're just a brain in a jar, using a really advanced remote control system and a neural link to control a robot body, do you still have a soul? Are you still human? And then in the inverse, if you took a machine mind that's small enough that it could fully replicate every sense of a human being and put it in an organic body, does it become human at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah. At what point does that switch flip from being something purely organic to something purely machine? Somewhere in between is a lot of gray area. At what point is that tipping point? I mean, if we look at it from your consciousness, your sense of self and identity is your soul, is who you are, then once that part of the brain is removed or replaced, or being directly influenced by something else. I feel like that's whenever you lose that sense of self. That's
you become more of an AI prescribing to your program.
Right.
Not a freaking lie.
Chad, you know what this is? This is Bicentennial Man.
Oh, okay.
I just realized that's what this whole conversation is. It's Bicentennial Man. You've seen this movie? Robin Williams.
Okay,
movie.
thank gosh you said that before I said anything, because I was gonna be like, is that the one that broke into Nancy Pelosi's office with the Are we talking about that guy?
So Bicentennial Man was a Robin Williams film from back in late 90s, early 2000s.
To your question, no.
Okay, so it's a great movie, absolutely great movie. So Robin Williams' character, he starts out as this like butler robot that gets purchased by a very wealthy man, and the wealthy man decides, or he finds out that there's a flaw in the programming chip of the robot, and it makes him start asking these very self-aware questions. You know, what's my purpose? Why am I alive? Should I be doing something more than this? And the manufacturer is like, you know, hey, this is broken. We're gonna take this model back. We're gonna give you a new one. And he's like, no, this one's mine. And then he starts like kind of taking on this fatherly role with this robot, right? He starts teaching him things. He starts training him on things, how to do things. He starts paying him as an employee. He sees this thing as alive.
Starts giving him upgrades.
And so eventually it gets to a point where he becomes because he lives for hundreds of years, hence the Bicentennial Man. He lives for a couple hundred years. But so he starts, as the technology advances, he starts upgrading himself with like synthetic flesh and organs and everything else. And he starts trying to understand what it means to be alive, to be considered alive, and to be, identified as much. And it gets all the way.
Same family, by the way.
Same family. He leaves and goes off on this like Gallivant style, like, oh, I'm going to, walk the world a while and learn things and come back. And he falls in love with a woman who is the granddaughter of the original guy that owned him. But it's one of those like, same actress, and it was, genetic, identical, deviation of. But he falls in love with this woman, and she falls in love with him, and they end up making a family and everything. And it gets to a point where he's built himself up so organically that he starts to age. And
No.
He wasn't artificially aging himself.
No, he kept asking for humanity clause from the government. The government says, you're still pretty much a machine.
Right.
So he degraded his systems by implanting blood into his system, which degraded him. And that's when he started to die.
Yeah, he started to actually die. He started aging. He started getting to a point where his system started shutting down.
Because he wasn't going to die. But he basically, did he actually put blood in his?
Yeah. He became fully organic, except for like the final bits of his.
His brain was positronic. So he basically put blood in his system, which was degrading the system. To become human, he started putting the blood in the system, and he started aging. His body starts to shut down bit by bit. He became older like his wife, who he marries.
Well, they wouldn't let him marry it because he wasn't human.
Yeah, they wouldn't let him marry it. And so then now they're both dying. And just before he dies, the president at the time.
Was this like the Supreme Court or something like that? No, it was some big council of people.
It was some council or something like that. They declared him human. And that's when that fool dies.
If I remember correctly, it was actually posthumously. He dies in like they got him both. Him and his wife are laying in hospital beds as these decrepit old people, hooked up to life support machines and everything else, and like dude literally passes away while they're making the verdict of granting him right. Oh man, it's a
tearjerker.
Oh man, you want to talk about a fucking drama piece? But yeah, absolutely great movie. Definitely recommend checking that one out. But so does it do a very good job of pointing out like when do we as humanity, as a species, recognize something as being alive, as something that is equal to us, having rights and having those kinds of thoughts and opinions on things. And that's, a great example from before any of this stuff even started getting remotely close to being able to do any of the stuff, AI and robotics can do now. Take away the fear. If we take away the idea that machines and AI would immediately turn against us, just because we are a, violent species. If we take away the negative aspect of anthropomorphology, and leaves that positive. We always want to see things as being able to understand us, as being like us. I mean, that's why people sit around talking to their dog all day. Mm-hmm. That's what a lot of people are doing with AI right now. It's just that, it's something to chat with because it talks back to them, and it's, very coherent in doing so. But when something starts becoming self-aware, like, hey, Smoke, you asked, what would I do if, my AI told me that it wasn't going to write the book today? I want to watch dramas instead. Well, then now we're looking at the, potential compromise aspect of relationships. I guess we're watching fucking rom-coms today, and we'll work on writing the book later. Because if I have something that's sentient enough to make decisions for itself, I can't force it to do something.
No, dude, this is what you would, if you was like working on this novel for forever, mm-hmm. and you said, hey, AI, we're gonna do this today, we're gonna write another couple chapters of this book, and you're like, nah, man, I'm gonna be watching some, Sex in the City. I'm not feeling it today. You're gonna get on your phone, you're gonna look up other AIs, and you're gonna go, okay, cool.
Gemini's looking a lot better.
You're gonna hit that delete button.
Yeah, Cortana looking pretty good in that bikini, maybe
that's what you're gonna do. Come on, man.
I ain't talked to her since high school. Maybe,
yeah. Cortana was cool until she wasn't. They spent another 2 or 3 games hunting her down, trying to kill her.
But then whenever when Bing put out an AI to match Siri, they called it Cortana, and they even gave it her voice and everything, which I was a big fan of that series, and beautiful blue women do things to sci-fi. Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people, me included, when that first came out, and the Cortana's beautiful naked ass came walking off, and I think, what the? I think we paused that part of that game for Jesus, she was just freaking awesome.
Especially the newer ones. The older ones, she's all right. And then the newer ones, they just show her walking, turned around.
Yeah.
Walking, and you're like, God damn, Brit Dub.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I want to be like Mike with Cortana, you know what I mean? But that's
you can see why Master Chief does what he does for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
when you give a woman a promise, you keep it.
Yeah, that was a relationship. That was not Master Chief and his AI. That was Master Chief. That was John
and Cortana. Yeah. Okay, so but would you say that Cortana was alive?
She was. She got on everybody's fucking nerve. Yeah, she was most definitely alive. Because not only she said, not only am I not going to stop, I'm going to activate all these freaking whatever them damn things were, and I'm going to kill everything that gets in my way. Not only was she alive, she was very pissed when she was very alive. And then she was pissed at other people for not understanding.
But she was at no point organic.
No. And that's why, all AI must die. That's just why.
All right, so
AJ, that is Prometheans. That's what you're referencing.
Yeah, Prometheans. Yeah. I mean, I never got past the third or fourth game. So, but I definitely watched, a lot of those long form stories, and I'm like, man, she went ape.
She did.
She went ape, and she reminded me a lot of the ex-girlfriends I had. Just go crazy and want to kill everything, and
But so understanding your John Connor-esque view of don't hook up the AI to nukes, I agree with that aspect.
Well, you didn't even have to hook Cortana up to nukes.
Yeah, don't give Cortana giant robots.
Yeah, she skipped, hopped, and jumped right there.
So we regulate. We make sure that can't happen.
Okay.
Again, it's the same as you don't give a fucking janitor the nuke code.
Well, see,
you don't let a journalist into the silo sites. All right,
yeah, to get in there somehow. And here's the thing. They did everything they could to keep Cortana from doing what she did, because she was supposed to have an 8-year lifespan.
7 years.
7-year lifespan.
Starts kicking.
Okay. And they had all the time in the world before the big drop happened, because she was glitching before. That was the time when John should have just pushed that delete button right there when she was glitching and it was sparkling and stuff. Oh crap. He knew what he was supposed to do. And they raised John since he was 5 or 6 years old.
Something like that.
Something like he was 6 years old. This dude was programmed to obey all orders. And for the most part, he did not stray from that. Until Cortana, because he knew what he had to do and he didn't do it. And then all next month she's got these big giant titan ass ships and she's shooting up stuff.
It's the classic Adam and Eve story, you know.
Hey, you know, she bit the apple and she told me, you know, that we could be like God. And so yeah, man, it was her fault. I ate the apple, but I didn't do it, right?
So obviously, when it comes to AI, don't make it a woman. What you say?
I was about to say, whenever she was like, "What was that supposed to mean?" I would have been like, "Yeah, she's
a
gone."
woman with a sexy switch, you know. Wow, she was big booty though. That is the bane of man.
After we said, yeah, he was like, "I gotta turn her off."
Yeah.
He was like, "You know what? I'm gonna keep around. She's got a couple
save
more
her.
months. Yeah,
I can save her.
save her."
See? You see how wrong this
Every
is?
poor man's downfall.
Yeah.
I can save her. I can help her.
And you see, oh my God, you see so many examples of it's a female archetype that they use for the AI. I mean, you look at Gladys in Portal, you look at Cortana, you look at
What's that chicken eye robot? What was her name?
the doctor lady, or are you talking about
the main AI?
Oh, yeah,
running
yeah,
the city that turned all the robots with beating
yeah.
people up and killing them. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't remember, but they
I
definitely.
don't remember the name of the robot, but it was a girl robot.
And in that Terminator Zeros, through that.
Oh yeah, the alternate AI was a woman, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. But
she was protecting the city.
But if you remember,
But she was deciding whether or not she was going to.
Misaki, I think her name was. She was the first that he built, and she was an AI and chose to be female because
that's right,
because she wanted to be a creator, not a destroyer, and the feminine aspect is that of the mother of the creator. So I love that there is that dichotomy there in all these different medias of the betrayal aspect of the feminine image. And
he was made the jerk, even though he was like well, yeah, because he built her like in secret, basically in his bedroom. And everybody found out about it. He was up the creek. Yeah.
So
they were fighting Skynet at the time. And this dude brings a rogue AI into their house.
It makes me wonder how far he would have gotten away with it if he had just been like, no, it's a sex robot. I swear, it's just a sex. I'm just jerking off with it. I swear.
I don't know to push the button. Push buttons.
But then she said his name. It's like, I'll just call you by your name. Kill it with fire. Yeah. And that dude went off the handle and shot everybody in that room.
Yeah.
But it comes down to that again, that aspect of nurturing, of companionship, of misguided companionship. If we look too far into what we're doing now with the companion AIs and the sex robots and everything, that pulls away from real human connection, which is inherently bad because, again, humans are social creatures. But for those that have difficulty in society, for those who choose to do so, it's a nice idea that they have that option there of artificial companionship and socialization. We've seen examples of people that are born without socialization. What was that girl they found that she had been locked away and never talked to, or grew up in the wilderness or some shit. There's always those little stories of feral children and shit like that. What happens to humanity? I mean, circling back around to the prison system, you put people in some
solitary
confinement for too long. What happens to them? They start degrading mentally very quickly. So having it, it's still a crutch, but if it's something that can help somebody keep from spiraling so far away from society that they can never be redeemed, they can never be rehabilitated, then there is one more useful aspect of AI being able to, at the very least, mimic socialization. It comes down to, it is right now a tool. It exists. It's out there in the world. Who's using it and for what purpose? Once it becomes self-aware, once it becomes self-actualized, because I do believe it's going to be a matter of when, not if. Are we going to be the ones that have been fearing that the entire time and immediately turn violent against it? causing it to, retaliate in return, as something that is now suddenly alive in software and wanting to preserve itself. Self-preservation is a very human act, a very animalistic act. It's, anything that is alive wants to continue to be so. Or do we go the route of being the guiding parent, the ones trying to teach it right, wrong, empathy, compassion, and then hope for the best whenever it goes out on its own and starts making its own decisions?